So in this video, I'm going to be addressing one of the most popular questions right here in the channel, and it is, what lens should I get for starting a YouTube channel, starting photography? I want to do some video work. I want to have an all-around lens. What lenses do you recommend? What do you carry every day? And I decided to do this video together and show you the type of backpack that I carry daily. It's actually very, very small. Obviously, I have gear at the house, I have gear at the studio, but if I'm not going to be here or at the studio, I want to make sure that I'm going to be covered with my needs without actually carrying a lot of gear. So we're going to be talking about the 20mm F1.8 G lens from Sony and also the other Sony lens. This one is the 24mm to 105 f4 G lens, obviously a zoom lens. And there is a reason why I carry these two lenses. So if you're a content creator that is wondering what lens you should get for the Sony system without actually breaking the bank while staying with native Sony lenses, well, this video is for you guys, and all that information coming right up. Now, before we continue, remember that I'm giving away this brand new G Crane 2S that you see right now on the screen, and all you have to do to enter is super simple. Read the rules right next to me. I'll list all the details down in the description. The announcement is going to happen on April 5th, so good luck to all of you guys. Now, the first lens that we're going to start talking about is going to be the 20mm f1.8 G lens, and there is a reason why this lens is in my bag every day. But before I talk about those reasons, let's talk about the price. This lens is gonna run you $900, so way less than the 24mm f1.4, which is an option that costs more expensive, over $1,000. And this lens packs a lot of similar features and the image quality of the 24, with the plus that this lens is actually a little bit wider. Now let's start talking about some of the features that you're gonna find around the lens, and the first one is gonna be the manual aperture control ring right here. But at the same time, you can always lock it in the A and then control the aperture with any of the dials that you desire to map for the aperture. Now, the other good feature about this lens, especially if you're gonna be shooting video and racking aperture, is that right over here you have a click and declick aperture. So, right now it's actually click engage. And if I declick it, it's pretty smooth, so, it's gonna go very gradual in your videos. The other thing you're gonna find on this side is a custom button that you can customize for any function you want. I like to customize this button for the focus hold, because, I feel it proper for that. And right over here, we're gonna find an autofocus and manual focus switch, and I like this feature a lot for video because a lot of the times, I let the camera acquire focus, then I switch to manual focus, either from refraining the lens from hunting, when my subject is moving, or to refine my focus. So this lens is also super light, and it's very portable, very manageable. If I remove this lens hood, you can see the size of this lens in the Sony A7C, so very pocketable in smaller bag, and one of my favorite lenses for traveling. Now this one is going to be also a great lens for vloggers. At 20mm, you're going to be able to vlog with this camera, for example, without overstretching your arm because you are too cropped. And this is me vlogging with the camera. So you can see I can put it very, very close to my face. Obviously this will be a little bit more comfortable, like so. So I believe that 20mm is the ideal focal length for full frame for vlogging. So if you're a vlogger, well, this lens is gonna be probably, my first recommendation, and even over the 24mm f1.4, which is a much more expensive lens. Now let's talk about photography, because this one is also gonna be a super versatile lens. If you shoot real estate photography, this is the lens to get, in my opinion, first. If you like to, fit as much as possible in the composition, well, this one is also going to be my first choice, unless you want to go for super, wide-angle lenses like the 12 to 24mm f4 or the new one, the f2.8, that is actually $3,000. But in this lens, you're gonna get a lot of options in a prime lens. It's going to be a light lens. It's going to render a gray bokeh and good background separation with an aperture of f1.8. Also, the maximum aperture of this lens is going to be an f22, something to keep in mind if you're gonna be using this lens in super bright conditions. And the lens also features a very, very smooth, focusing ring, which is something very important. And it's something that I don't find in a lot of Sony lenses. You know, Sony lenses, in my opinion, don't have smooth focusing rings or zoom rings for all I care. Now, let's talk about the second lens, and this one is going to be a zoom lens, the 24-105 f4. This one is going to be also a G lens, and this lens is going to have something that other more expensive lenses don't have, especially from the G Master collection. But before, let's talk about the price, because this lens is going to run you at around $1,200. Now, at 24-105, you know, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck, and even though there are other cheaper options, I still coming back to this lens. You know, I've been loving this lens since, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago since I got this lens, and never looked back. Now, there is another option that I also love to use, and it's the 24-70mm F2.8, which is a faster lens, and it's a lens that probably I may use more for, you know, low light situations, especially if I'm doing photography. But because this lens goes from 24-105, a lot of the times, you know, I much rather get that additional reach than actually getting, you know, a faster lens. Especially when I shoot videos, because this camera right here, the Sony FX3, that's really great in low light. And the same thing goes for the Sony A7C. So I haven't been needing my 24-70 that much, and, you know, I prefer to carry this one in the bag. Now, let's talk about the features of this lens, because once again, like I mentioned before, this one is going to be a G lens from the G line, and G line stands one step below the G Master, but in my opinion, a lot of the times, you know, the image quality, it's almost identical. Now, the other reason why I carry this lens with me so much is because I do a lot of, you know, portrait photography, and when it comes to portrait photography, I like to shoot, you know, beyond the 85mm, and of course at 105. This lens, you know, has that focal length. You know, I have the 85, and also I have the 105 right here. And to be honest with you, when I shoot portrait, I crank this thing all the way to 105, and I get really nice, you know, images. Now, the other thing that I have to mention is that this lens features great image quality. It is super sharp. I'm gonna post some images right now so you can see. But this lens, you know, at the studio, I'm never gonna be using at f4. In fact, I crank my aperture to f8 or f11 when I shoot, you know, commercial work at the studio. And a lot of the times, you know, I don't need my aperture to be super wide, especially if I'm gonna be using this lens in the 105 end. You know, I'm still gonna get a really nice, you know, background separation and shallow depth of field. Now, one thing that you're gonna realize right here is that I also have a neutral density filter, and this one is variable, goes from 2 to 5 neutral density. And the camera that I have right now is the Sony FX3, a camera that a lot of us wish that had, you know, variable ND filters. But by simply putting a 200, 250, you know, variable ND filter, you know, you fix the problem, no reason to complain, and, you know, very convenient as well. Now, there is one thing that we have to mention about this lens that makes this lens, you know, a great option for a lot of you guys, especially if you're gonna be putting this lens in a camera that doesn't have image stabilization, like, for example, Sony a6100 or the a6300 or the a6400 or any of the APS-C cameras that don't have in-body image stabilization. One thing that you're gonna have to account is gonna be the crop factor. So, you know, whatever your focal length it is, you're gonna have to multiply it times 1.5, and that's actually how much zoom you're gonna be on an APS-C camera. But this lens features image stabilization. And to be honest with you, the image stabilization of this lens, the optical image stabilization, is in my opinion better than any in-body image stabilization from Sony. So this is the reason why I have it here in the Sony FX3, because if I want to shoot video handheld, this lens is going to deliver, and I know that I'm gonna nail my images. Now, the other reason is that if you are going to shoot photos with a camera that doesn't have IBIS, well, this lens is gonna allow you to dial your aperture, you know, even faster, and also your shutter speed, while ensuring that your, you know, images are very steady and sharp. So this is going to be a must for photography, and it's going to be a must for videographer that want to shoot handheld or, you know, with minimal gear. So a lot to love about this lens. And the other reason why I like this lens so much, and why I pick it more than the 24-70, is because this lens is also lighter, more manageable, and it's also a little bit shorter. Also, I believe the diameter is a little bit thinner. Now, this lens is gonna feature a 77mm filter thread, and what I recommend you do, and it's what I do most of the times, you know, I have step down ring, So I step it down from this one to the 67, which is the one that takes the 20mm F1.8. But again, you know, if you want to actually cover, you know, most of the range, I recommend you get the filter for an 82mm filter thread, and then you get step down range, so you can step it down to the 77, you know, 70, 67, 72, whatever the case may be, and even use it natively on an 82mm lens like the Sony G Master 24-70mm f2.8. So this is gonna be my top choice today of the lenses that I carry in my backpack, you know, lenses that I consider that are gonna suit, you know, most content creators out there for most generic needs, and you know, lenses that actually pack a punch without breaking a bank. Like I mentioned before, there are gonna be cheaper options, but you know, I just always come back to these lenses, guys. So this is gonna wrap it up for today, guys. If you wanna hear more about these lenses, just simply drop me a comment right here with any of your questions. I'll be more than happy to assist you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.